Put that coffee down.
I'm not here to waste your time, okay? I certainly hope you're not here to waste mine. So I'm gonna keep this short.
Helen, we're both in sales. Let me tell you why I suck as a salesman.
Most valuable commodity I know of is information. Wouldn't you agree?
Coffee's for closers only.
Well, hello there, friend. Welcome back to the Behind Your Back podcast with me, Bradley Hartmann. This podcast, we talk about leadership, personal productivity, time management, and the craft of selling in the construction industry. And today, we're going to be drawing parallels between the delicious train wreck of a situation with Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. But first, I want to thank our sponsors. Boise Cascade Engineered Wood Products. They help you move faster and build stronger. They make it easier to get more done. And our friends at Materials Exchange. They're the LBM Industries answer to E-Trade. Materials Exchange is your digital marketplace for lumber and panels. So where was I? Oh, that's right. Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. Now I'm going to admit, this is pure joy. This is just, it's all fantastic for me. As a lifelong Bears fan, to see this slow motion train wreck / excrement show playing out in real time with Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers, it's been simply wonderful. And I'm excited to share my thoughts about it, which I've been collecting from the moment it started. But this ultimately comes down to 8.5 leadership lessons that you can apply today based on the situation with one Aaron Rodgers. Now, why? Why does this situation give me so much joy? Well, first and foremost, I'm a Bears fan, and right over my shoulder here, I recently purchased a football helmet of the Chicago Bears signed by one Mitchell Trubisky. Why? Don't worry about it. We can discuss it later. I can tell you it did not cost a lot of money. But to answer that question better, I'm going to give you two lists, all right? And what I'm going to ask you to do, this is a way of answering your question. I'm going to ask you to try to remember the members on list 1 versus list 2. Are you ready? Okay, you're ready. List 1 is Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. That's the list. The entire list is Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. Here's the second list. Jim Harbaugh, Peter Tom Willis, Will Fuhrer, Steve Walsh, Eric Kramer, Dave Craig, Rick Meyer, Steve Stenstrom, Moses Moreno. Oh yeah, forgot about him. Colorado State. Thanks for nothing. Shane Matthews, Cade McNown. Don't get me started. Jim Miller, Chris Chandler, Henry Burris. Totally forgot about that cat. Cordell Stewart. Oh yeah, Slash. You know what? What if I don't want the Slash? What if I just want one guy who can play one position well? Big Sexy, Rex Grossman. Yeah. Craig Krenzel, Chad Hutchinson, Jonathan Quinn, Kyle Orton, Brian Greasy, Jay Cutler, Todd Collins, Caleb Haney. That was recent, and I forgot about him. Josh McCown, Jason Campbell, Jimmy Clausen. Jimmy. Matt Barkley, Brian Hoyer, Mitchell Trubisky, Mike Glennon, Chase Daniel, and Nick Foles. All right. So how many of the names on list 1 do you remember versus list 2? Yeah, exactly. So that's my pain. Since 1992, the Packers have had 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks, and the Bears have had that entire lineup of largely clowns that haven't come close to the production of one Sid Luckman shortly after World War II. So that's the pain. Every time we play the Packers, they run down that ridiculous list. And quite frankly, I don't blame the Packers and I don't blame the announcers. I would do it too. But that's the reason. So without further ado, let's jump into the 8.5 leadership lessons you can apply today from the Aaron Rodgers debacle. The first one is understand the return on investment. And overwhelmingly, for the Packers and for you, you can get a higher return on your investment by giving your superstars more resources, more attention, and more love in general. But we often do the opposite. We often focus more time and energy and concern on your B players, trying to work them up to A, your C players, improving them, or heaven forbid, we got D players that are sucking our time and attention and we're making room in our busy schedule for them. Why? You have more capability output by focusing on your stars. Support them. And this happened with the Packers and Aaron Rodgers, and it often happens with sales teams and the way that they manage the sales professionals that are selling every day. Don't focus entirely on the weak parts. So continue to feed your stars, make your strengths even more obvious in the marketplace. So there's lesson number one. Lesson number two, understand inversion. Sometimes when we're talking about what we're trying to do, we have all these competing goals, and sometimes we get lost in the muck of what we're trying to do and where we want to go. Sometimes it's simpler to simply invert the problem. Well, what does that mean? That means asking, what do we definitely not want? What would make our lives considerably worse? And if you're the Green Bay Packers, that answer is pretty clear. I would have an angry Aaron Rodgers who won't return our phone calls and is trying to blow up our draft day strategy by saying he wants to leave and host Jeopardy. We'll discuss that later, right? That's what you definitely don't want. So work backwards to say, how do we avoid that? Well, we often do that with our sales professionals as well. We sometimes get lost in the muck and the mire of all these different things we're doing, as opposed to saying, all right, we have a couple superstars. What do we definitely don't want? So think about inverting the problem and keep it simple. Charlie Munger, the right-hand man to Warren Buffett at Berkshire Hathaway, has a classic line he repeats often. That is, all I want to know is where I'm going to die, so I never go there. That's the idea. Comedian George Carlin said, the whole key to living is not dying. That's the key to life, not being dead. So same idea. Start with the obvious, what you don't want to happen, and work backwards. Lesson number three, fairly obvious, but you know what they say about common sense? Sometimes it's not too common, right? Understand how to communicate effectively with your star. Obviously, the star, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, is Aaron Rodgers. And in the last 10 years, the Green Bay Packers, every single year in the first round of the NFL draft, have selected a defensive player. They have deviated from that plan once and only once, and that was a year ago. What did they do? They surprised Aaron Rodgers. They moved up, so they traded additional resources to draft one offensive player. Was it a wide receiver who could help him? Nope. Was it a running back who could help him? Nope. It was his replacement, Jordan Love. Now, why would they do that? Why would they not communicate with him? Why would they not sit down ahead of time and say, hey, here's what we're going to do. I want you to understand it. I know you won't like it, but here's where we're going and how it's going to help you, at least to understand that from an organizational level. Why would we not do that? Who knows? So communicate with your star. So today, when's the last time you've sat down one-on-one with your star performer and gone through the details and truly listened to understand where he's coming from and shared how you are changing your strategy? If you can't remember exactly when that was, make time today. Lesson number 4 is understand loss aversion. So loss aversion, what is that? Well, it says two things. Loss aversion, it's a bias or a heuristic, mental shortcut that Daniel Kahneman talks about in his book, Thinking Fast and Slow. And it has two elements. The first is that losses loom larger than gains. So the pain of a loss hurts more than the joy of a gain of the same amount, right? It also says when the stakes rise, the loss aversion rises with it. So a simple metaphor would be if I'm flipping a coin, heads you win, tails you lose, each one is worth $100. The loss of $100 is going to feel worse than winning $100. Now, the rational mind would say, if I can win $101 and I would only lose $100, I would do that all day because on a long enough timeline, that's going to even out and I will collect $1 here and there. That's not how the human mind works. The human mind says, if I'm going to lose $100, they have proven this in studies that that number is going to have to be to win either $150 up to $250 on average. So you need to win a lot more to feel that joy of winning in the same degree as it would be to loss. So how does this affect Aaron Rodgers? Well, losing on an idiotic choice by the head coach, we'll touch on that in a minute, and losing the NFC Championship to get to another Super Bowl last year, the pain of that loss, really high stakes, really public forum, right? The pain of that is probably going to be worth at least 2, if not 3 Super Bowls to Aaron Rodgers, especially going against Tom Brady, who Aaron Rodgers secretly absolutely believes he's so much better than. Fine. Loss aversion. How does it relate to you? Every week I'm on the phone, I'm talking to sales professionals as we're coaching them through these crazy times. And I've had multiple situations where, say, a sales professional 12 months ago was making maybe $6,000 or $7,000 a month in a commission check. Now, that is either doubled or tripled. Theoretically, they should be very happy. However, at the same time, they are being offered what appear to be very manageable projects for them to get in the neighborhood of, say, $465,000 jobs. This would be a boon to them. However, they're not able to produce that because they don't have the inventory. So these feel like losses. And even when I point out to the sales rep, well, if you didn't have the inventory, you never really had the possibility to land that. So if you never could really land it, you never really lost it. And while they theoretically understand that from a logical standpoint, that's not how they feel. They feel that they lost that money. So the number of sales professionals that I'm saying, hey, you had a great month. And they're like, yeah, I know I did, but it could have been 2 times that, right? I could have made 100 or 200 grand this month, but we don't have the inventory. These guys can't do it. And then you have this entire list of things that didn't go their way. So loss aversion is real. We need to talk to our people. We need to listen, and we need to understand this is an incredibly emotional time, and the losses hurt more than the gains. Speaking of Tom Brady, that brings us to lesson number 5. Understand new trends or new models in our environment. Tom Brady is one of the few individuals, along with James Harden, but very different circumstances, I agree. Tom Brady was an MVP type caliber player. He literally won the MVP the year before leaving the New England Patriots. That had never been done before. In the history of the NFL, no MVP had ever changed teams the subsequent year. The only times that has happened is when they retired. So what would have seemed previously unimaginable, that Aaron Rodgers could imagine a future where he gets out of his contract worth $134 million and goes plays for the Las Vegas Raiders, that would have seemed inconceivable. And yet, Tom Brady recently did it. And the idea that, well, who's going to leave the team they've been with forever, go set up shop in a new city, find success and win a Super Bowl, right? That answer before last year was 0. And now, well, in the last year, it's 100% of the quarterbacks that do that. Tom Brady did it. So this is a new model. It's a new trend that Aaron Rodgers can point to and say, well, if he can do it, so can I. So think about these things that might be changing in your own environment, in your own market, in your own little neck of the woods. Are there things changing like this where someone might be able to look at that and said, well, that would have seemed crazy 12 months ago, but now, well, apparently that's realistic. So be on the lookout for new trends and new mental models in the market. Lesson number 6, understand that leadership is focus, and it starts at the top. Our goal as leaders is to set the purpose, have the focus, have the disciplined execution. Think of the New England Patriots and Alabama who say, know your role, do your job, control what you can control, and trust your teammates. This is all seems well and good until leadership does something stupid that creates an incredible distraction. And obviously, that is happening right now with the Green Bay Packers, right? They created this mess. It is their responsibility to try to fix it to the degree they can. For you, what are the small things that are happening right now that are allowing your people to lose focus, right? How do you have them focus on the purpose and the execution and to be tighter as a team as things seemingly get crazier and crazier every day? You got to bring people closer, and that's what leaders do. Leaders don't create additional distractions. Lesson number 7, understand that small things over time become really big things. Now, you could argue this is a pretty big thing. Absolutely idiotic coaching move by LaFleur in the NFC Championship to take the ball out of Aaron Rodgers' hands to go for the tie by going for it on 4th down. Instead, he gave the ball back to Tom Brady with a few minutes left. Tom Brady marches right down. They score. They go to the Super Bowl. They win the Super Bowl. And Aaron Rodgers, on top of everything else, had to watch that in absolute horror. Okay? Now, you might argue that's not a small thing. It's a big thing. However, once it happened, you still have a really talented offensive team coming back, good offensive line, good running back, good wideout, strong defense. You have all the pieces to get back there the next year. My question to leadership, and maybe they did this, but it wasn't effective apparently. After that happens, how do you make sure you say, Aaron Rodgers, you are not leaving town. You're not going to California. And if you do, we're coming with you. We're moving in. We're talking about this. And this is going to be something that makes us stronger, not weaker. We're going to build on this to be better and get back there next year, do it right, and win the Super Bowl. By allowing Aaron Rodgers to leave town, to let this fester, this is what happens when you let small things, small little burr under the saddle, get worse and worse over time. Eventually, they become big things. So think about your own organization right now. Are there any small developments, small minor annoyances, or changes you've made that certain stars of yours haven't appreciated? Are we 100% sure that that's not going to be something much larger down the road? Lesson number 8, understand gossip. It's part of the human condition. People like rumors, people like gossip. We largely have boring lives, big, exciting things that we're on the periphery of. We love chatting about them. This whole idea that Aaron Rodgers is theoretically going to leave football to become the host of Jeopardy is idiotic. I know he was good on it. I know he enjoyed it. He is not going to do that. However, it's become a rumor. People love talking about it. Now real journalists are saying, oh, this is a real possibility. No, it isn't. It's not a possibility. It's idiotic. However, it's added leverage. It's more distraction, which only helps Aaron Rodgers. And here we are to lesson 8.5, and it's a half a point because it's less of a lesson than a working theory that I have right now. And the working theory is that right now, there's an artificial suppression of talent dispersion. I know I'm using big words trying to make myself sound smart. What does that mean? Well, there's something that is artificially suppressing talent dispersing, leaving, going to other places. Right now, there's a lot of unhappy salespeople that would have otherwise left to join other teams. All these mergers and acquisitions, there's a reason that 80% of mergers and acquisitions fail to deliver on the return promised when it is announced. Why? Because talented people leave. It's a huge distraction. It's a pain in the neck. They don't like their new boss. They love the guy that left. Like, whatever. There's a reason that historically 80% of mergers and acquisitions do not deliver on the promise, right? Now, if we believe this to be true and we know this is happening and there's unhappy salespeople right now, why aren't they leaving? Well, every single commission check they've gotten for the last 12 months has been larger than the one before. So why would they leave now? This, I believe, is happening on a national basis. But you, my friend, have the gift of time. You can course correct. Because these folks aren't leaving, because prices continue to go up and the commission checks go up, salespeople aren't leaving. And that gives you more time to sit down to listen to them. Yes, people are unhappy, they're emotional, they're exhausted, they're tired of change. But for the time being, for you, they are mildly rich. So they're going to stay here. And that gives you time. So talk to your stars, listen to them, act on what they tell you to do, give them the respect and the appreciation, and understand for all of us, this is an incredibly emotional time. And yes, it's stressful now, but guess what? The Packers are going to find out it's going to get a lot more stressful when you lose one of your superstars. As leaders up and down the organization, we need to do a better job of communicating effectively, over-communicate. Do it with empathy. Do it one-on-one. Create the time. Create the time to sit one-on-one and truly listen to your stars. And listening, it's a discipline. It's not a skill. All you have to do is quit talking and quit thinking about yourself and listen to what this other person is saying. Now, as for my Bears, well, guess what? All the pain and suffering, that's in the past. Brighter days are ahead. Why? I'll tell you why. A little man named Justin Fields with a big talent. Justin Fields is going to right all the wrongs of the past 6 decades, maybe 7, tough to say. Now, you might be asking, well, what about the performance of past Ohio State quarterbacks? And I will say this, name one Ohio State quarterback in the last 10 years who has not been awesome. And I know what name comes to mind first. I already mentioned him, Craig Krenzel. And I'd say that's outside of the last decade. Craig Krenzel, yeah, he won a national championship at Ohio State. He was terrible. And then you say, what about, who's that guy who won the Heisman? Troy Smith. And I would say Troy Smith had a terrible NFL career. I'm pretty sure he was out of the league in 2 years. What about Terrell Pryor? Actually, Terrell Pryor was so bad at quarterback they converted him to a wide receiver. All right. What about Cardale Jones? Actually, Cardale Jones also won another national championship. He was also garbage. What about that Dwayne Haskins was selected in the... Yeah, Dwayne Haskins, he might be out of football already. It's only been like 18 months. All right. Nonetheless, there's always one man who breaks the mold of crappy quarterbacks from Ohio State. His name is Justin Fields. Aaron Rodgers, I bid you farewell. Enjoy your departure from Green Bay. I hope for only the worst of things for Green Bay. The team in general, not the fans. The fans are okay. Actually, the fans are really nice compared to Bears fans. Bears fans are a-holes. Nonetheless, Justin Fields, I see you. You're a more athletic version of Tom Brady, and you'll be better than Aaron Rodgers ever was. That can be the only possible scenario for us together. Justin Fields, Godspeed. I want to thank our sponsors, Boise Cascades Engineered Wood Products, and their innovative SawTech technology. You can learn more by visiting bc.com/EWP. And what E-Trade is for the stock market, Materials Exchange is to the LBM industry. They make commodity pricing transparent, buying simple, and those fees are low. That's all I've got for you, friends. I know you could have put your attention and time someplace else. I appreciate you listening this far. We're going to close it like we always do. You, my friend, you're owed nothing. Deliver value first.